When I bought my Legion Go S, it came with SteamOS, and it's a great operating system. I was introduced to it when I bought my first Steam Deck a couple of years ago. I love how easy it is to use. It just works. But I can't use it to play some of my favorite games because of anti-cheat software. So on my Legion Go S, I installed Windows, and while that solved one problem, it came with some real surprises. The SteamOS version of the Legion Go S comes with a Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor, 32GB of RAM, and 1TB of storage. I picked this one up as an open box item from Best Buy a couple of months ago. It ended up being a really good deal considering what the prices are now. When I buy open box devices, I know they're not going to be perfect. But when I opened this one up to replace the SSD, I was surprised by what I found inside. The new SSD I'm using is a Corsair 2TB M.2 2242. It's actually an older drive I already had laying around, something I picked up when storage prices were a lot cheaper. I like to go into the BIOS and disable the built-in battery before I take it apart. I removed the 3 screws on the bottom, then pried off the plastic cover. Then there were 3 screws underneath that. The 2 top triggers just pop off, and the screws underneath them, they don't come all the way out. They just need to be loosened. Finally, I just used a pry tool to separate the back cover from the front, which brings me to the surprise. I'm not exactly sure what this yellowish stain is on the interior. I haven't seen anything like this on the other Legion devices I've opened, so it was pretty clear to me that someone had been inside this before. That said, I haven't had any problems with it, so I just left it there. I disconnected the battery, then I removed the original SSD from its bracket, then replaced it with my larger 2TB drive. After that, it was just a matter of putting everything back together in reverse order. I try to save all my original SSDs. I bought a box of these little envelopes that are perfect for storing them. To install Windows, I'm using a USB drive I already set up. I first used it when I installed Xbox Fullscreen Experience on my original Legion Go. For that, I used my Microsoft account to join the Windows Insider program. Then I went to their website to download the 26200 build of the Windows ISO. After that, I obtained a copy of Rufus from the Microsoft Store and used it to burn the ISO onto a USB. To make things easier during the install, I connected the Legion Go S to a dock and used a wired keyboard and mouse. I also plugged in an Ethernet cable so I'd have easy access to the internet. From there, it was just a matter of plugging in the USB drive, then going through the standard Windows installation process. For the drivers, I used the ones Lenovo provides for the Legion Go S that ships with Windows. I also installed Xbox Fullscreen Experience. It's not perfect, but it is getting better. They added a button in the My Apps and My Games tab. It lets me install some of my favorite apps directly into Xbox Fullscreen, so I don't have to go into the desktop. And after a recent update, it looks like Microsoft changed the name of the Fullscreen experience. It's now called XBox Mode. Once I finished installing everything, I was able to play all the games that didn't work with SteamOS. Call of Duty, Madden, Fortnite, all ran natively on Windows, and I didn't have to dual boot or use a cloud streaming service. For me, because it's Windows, it works great as a secondary desktop. I can use Word to edit my script, and when I'm ready to game, I just switch my keyboard and mouse. And if I want to do something like watch a video while eating my lunch or get some work done at the dining table, its versatility allows me to do that as well. And with the new SSD installed, I now had 2TB of storage for all my favorite games, some future games, and all the games I bought but never play. I wanted to see how Windows compared to SteamOS in terms of performance, so I ran a few tests, and the results weren't quite what I expected. But before I show you what happened, if you like this video, consider subscribing. It helps the channel and lets me know I should keep making content like this. I first looked at battery life using both operating systems. With SteamOS installed, I used a custom performance profile with the TDP limit set to 25 watts. I also used the same in-game settings. I ran all games at a resolution of 1280 by 800 and the refresh rate set to 60 Hz. I didn't make any additional adjustments to either operating system. I set a timer for 60 minutes and started playing with the battery level set at 99%. I played several matches of Marvel Rivals, then switched over to Doom: The Dark Ages. When the timer went off after an hour, my battery level was down to 25%. After installing Windows, I ran the exact same test again. I used the same resolution, refresh rate, and a custom thermal mode with everything set to 25 watts. I started playing Marvel Rivals again with the battery level at 100%, then again switched over to Doom: The Dark Ages. Now, before I show you the results I got with Windows, obviously none of my tests are scientific, and different variables like game or power settings can affect performance. But with these game settings, when the timer went off, the battery level was down to 27%. I really didn't expect the results of the battery test to be this close. I thought Steam would be the clear winner here. For my next test, I wanted to see how both handled sleep mode. I started with SteamOS. I launched Doom the Dark Ages with the battery level at 99%. I paused the game, pressed the power button, and started the timer. When the timer went off after 60 minutes, I pressed the power button again. The system brought me back into the game, and when I checked the battery level, it dropped slightly to 98%. Before starting the test with Windows, I went into System Settings and made sure that pressing the power button would put the device into sleep mode. When I launched Doom, I paused the game with the battery at 98%, pressed the power button, then started the timer again. When the timer went off, I powered the system back on. When I checked the battery level, it had dropped all the way down to 75%. Personally, I don't use sleep mode much, but this difference can't be ignored. Hopefully Microsoft fixes it. Next, I wanted to see what kind of difference there would be in game performance. So while I had SteamOS installed, I ran the in-game benchmarks for Marvel Rivals, Doom the Dark Ages, and Cyberpunk 2077. After I installed Windows, I ran the same in-game benchmarks again. I expected SteamOS to perform better, and that's exactly what I saw. In Marvel Rivals, SteamOS had an 11 frames per second advantage over Windows. Doom the Dark Ages was a little more interesting. I thought SteamOS would come out ahead again, but it was actually Windows that produced slightly more frames per second. The difference is really small though, and I only tested one TDP setting, so it's not something I'm going to read too much into. Cyberpunk 2077 is where I feel like SteamOS truly showed it has an advantage over Windows. I think that 15 frame difference really highlights what you can get when you design your operating system with gaming in mind first. And I really hope more game developers start creating presets specifically for handheld devices. Now, I'm not going to pretend like these numbers didn't matter to me. When I spend my money, I always want to get the maximum amount of performance from a device. But when I was gaming after installing Windows, there was never a moment when I thought I needed another 10 to 15 frames per second to enjoy it. The performance I was getting was good enough that I could just focus on playing the game. Ooh, how'd that taste? Ooh, how'd that taste? And this device, even with the older Z1 Extreme processor, quickly became one of my favorite handhelds. I love the design. It's comfortable to hold, and the 8-inch screen feels like a great middle ground. I don't like it as much as that 8.8-inch OLED screen on my Legion Go 2, but it's bigger than the screen on my Steam Deck, and for me, that just works better, and it weighs a lot less than my Legion Go 2. On my scale, it came in at 747 grams. My Legion Go 2 was 939, and I could really feel the difference in day-to-day use. The life on the 55.5 watt-hour battery isn't great, but I still enjoyed using it, even though there were times I was plugging it in while playing. There have been some real improvements to the software. Lenovo integrated Xbox features directly into Legion Space. Inside the Quick Settings menu, there's a button that brings up the Xbox interface, and there's also a shortcut to full screen mode. And if I hold down the Quick Settings button, it lets me switch between apps, or jump into the desktop. And now, I can finally change the VRAM settings directly within Legion Space. I just went to Settings, Performance, and scrolled down to the bottom. Before, I would have to hold down Volume Up, then press the power button, and navigate through the BIOS. It was also a little bit easier to get updates. One was under Settings in the Disk and Driver section, and there's also a Download Center under the Profile tab. I'm hoping this means I won't have to search through Lenovo's support page for updates. I enjoyed my time with the Legion Go S enough that I eventually bought some accessories for it. I know a lot of people don't like anti-glare screen protectors because it does kind of mute the colors, but for me, the way they cut down on reflections really helps when I'm trying to make videos about a device. And for the rest of the body, I picked up a D-brand X-ray skin and the kill switch case. The skin was actually pretty simple to put on. I like to use a blow dryer to smooth out the edges, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, but D-brand makes my favorite cases for handheld devices. For the kill switch, I just set the bottom in first, then use these yellow tabs to pull them over the top. I think they're reusable, so I might keep these. It has all the appropriate cutouts, the entire case has a nice grippy texture to it, and it even provides the Go S with the kickstand that it doesn't come with. It also comes with these joystick caps. They just slip on and add texture to them that makes them a little more comfortable to use. But my favorite part is the cover. It protects both the screen and joysticks, and makes it easy to take my Legion Go S with me wherever I need to go. So if I want to do some gaming while grabbing my breakfast, it's not a problem. After using my Legion Go S for the last month, there were some definite trade-offs moving from SteamOS to Windows. I don't think Windows is right for every person or every device, but the more I used it, I eventually stopped focusing on what it couldn't do and started enjoying it for what it could. And in the end, I still really like SteamOS. It's the operating system I'd recommend to most people. But on my Legion Go S, I didn't miss it as much as I thought I would. And honestly, that kind of surprised me.